Hi everyone, thanks for checking out another InfoSec Hub video. And today we're going to talk about certain concepts or terms that are being thrown around in the media or maybe certain IT forums and stuff like that. So we'll dive a little bit deeper. The cyber threat universe is what we're going to talk about. We're going to work our way from the left to the right. So let's start with malware. Malicious software designed to damage or gain unauthorized access to a computer system. And malware and spyware, it really depends. Spyware is really seeing what kind of behavior you have. And with malware, you can really damage a system, a file system, or you can corrupt certain files so that they don't work no more. Maybe you can't start Word no more, or Teams, or what have you. That's malware. Spyware is more of spying you. I mean, spyware could access your webcam, basically. It could access information over your keyboard. So maybe you log into a certain website, you type in the URL, it's logged. You type in your username, usually your email address, it's logged just by recording the keystrokes. And if you don't use a password manager, that you just copy your password, then but it's very easy. If you go to Facebook and then you see first you see the URL, then you see your username, and then you see something that looks like a password, it's probably is your password, right? Because it's been spying, it's been logging all the keystrokes on your computer. So that's spyware. Then we have a virus, which you don't come across that much no more because a virus can spread very easily. And in the beginning of the internet, it was a lot of fun to send somebody an email with the subject, "I love you." That triggers your interest. You click on the attachment, and all of a sudden you have a virus on your computer. And the next time you send an email, then unknowingly to the user, the virus comes with you, and it can spread. So it can make this chain reaction of emails. And yeah, I don't hear about viruses that much anymore. I'm sure they still exist, but there's not much to be gained for the cyber criminal to spread viruses. Where is the money nowadays? That's ransomware. And we also did a video on ransomware earlier. Ransomware is very basic. You download something off the internet. Usually it's an attachment through an email. Ransomware comes to your computer, looks at your file system, decides to encrypt all the files in your documents folder or in any kind of folder that it finds certain extensions of files, docx, Excel, the things you're working on, and it encrypts those files. So you cannot use that anymore. And the anatomy of a ransomware already explained. So if you really want to know more about ransomwares, look in the overview videos. But the thing is really about money. You want to continue working on your files, and you don't want to be bothered no more. So you pay a certain amount in Bitcoin, and hopefully the files get decrypted. So that's ransomware, holding files for ransom. A Trojan could also be a keylogger, for instance. It's a Trojan horse, or it's like a certain file like VNC or TeamLogger that you have on the background is running. You're not aware of it, and the attacker all of a sudden gets a pop-up or a message or a signal somehow that this computer is up, and you can look through VNC. So you can just be working, have no idea that somebody's watching with you. They can read your emails, they can see what you're doing on the screen, what kind of websites you're visiting. Basically gather intelligence, all right? In a nutshell. Distributed denial of service attacks. This has to do with denial of service is usually aimed at a website. That's a web service or a website. A web server is built to accept many requests and serve them to you. That's how the internet works. That's how websites works. But every system has a certain threshold. So if the threshold is met, then the service will not function anymore. And why is it distributed? Let's say, for instance, that a Trojan or spyware is installed on a victim's computer. It can stay hidden and silent for a whole while, don't even need to do nothing. But all of a sudden, the attacker that made this program can log into their command and control server, and they say, okay, now we got, let's say, 100,000 users with this spyware Trojan online, and I can control them. So they can basically have an all overview of the computing power and all the users that they have. And they just pick a target, and usually that's a website. So they point in the URL and say, start the attack. And from that moment on, all the computers that are infected will send a lot of data to a certain target, which is the website. And it's not like, oh, I want to visit the website once. No, but they will visit that website 10,000 times in a second, 100,000 times in a second, and then a couple of thousand of clients. What happens to the site? They go offline because they can't deal with that amount of traffic and requests. So the website goes down. The web server crashes, and it will take a while for the webmaster to reboot the server and to get it back up in line again. But this DDoS attack can take multiple hours, basically. And the person that is behind it, that controls it through the command and control server, it's very difficult to get their whereabouts or get their identity. So it happens often. Sometimes it's even politically motivated, when a bank does something, or when a certain political party has a certain controversial statement. Or for instance, when Russia invades Ukraine, we have to make sure that we DDoS the website of the Russian government, stuff like that. It can be politically motivated if the attacker wishes it to be like that. Okay, continue. Insider threat, malicious attack performed by an individual authorized to access the system. Insiders have authorized system access and can unleash their cyber threats on their system. So insider threat, insider means you do have the credentials based on your function, basically. And you can, just before you get fired, or you already fired and you still need to work 2 weeks, you can do this. This is an insider threat, and this happens quite frequently, actually. When people know they're going to lose their job anyway, maybe I'm going to download some information that can help me further, or I'm going to disrupt your services or anything. What you going to do? Fire me again? That kind of attitude, basically. It happens. Then cross-site scripting. An attacker adds code to a legit website that will execute when the victim loads the page. An example is malicious code wrapped in a script tag added to the website form or message board. So you can also execute cross-site scripting when it comes to login pages, for instance. Scripting is very powerful within the world of hackers. I don't know too much about scripting. I'm not a programmer. I don't have any kind of knowledge about this, but websites is nothing more than a bunch of code. So when you can intercept communications, when you can control the browser to a certain extent, you can also get the username or the password, the user credentials with cross-site scripting. Also with modern websites, I talk modern websites. It's not static anymore. They are dynamic for 20 years already. But with dynamic, I mean when you fill in your password, username, you are having to be authenticated somewhere, and this is in the database of the website. So you log in, send in information, and the web server and the database, they do their magic and they come back with your login page, right? So this is a dynamic website. Sometimes databases are not well protected, so you can already fill in your SQL script or whatever you want, and you get information back. So that's really messing with certain loopholes in programming languages, basically. You can do that with cross-site scripting. All right. Zero-day exploit is basically exploiting a network vulnerability when it is new and before a patch released or is implemented. So a hacker is poking around the system and he finds an exploit to gain access or control to the system, to the database, whatever the target is. And a 0-day is worth a lot of money because it hasn't been patched up yet. When a 0-day exploit is discovered and exploited, then the vendor, let's say Oracle or Microsoft or Google, they have to work very fast to make sure that this cannot be exploited anymore. So a 0-day, when one system has a 0-day exploit, then the other system that's identical has the same exploit. So when this kind of news leaks, I mean, the biggest targets in the world, it's known what kind of service they use. Like most of the web servers, they are Unix as a platform, Apache as a web server, MySQL as a database. And so these applications run the internet, basically, when you talk about websites. So when there's a 0-day exploit in one of those packages, hey, you got yourself a field day, and I'm sure you need to drink a lot of Red Bull because it's going to be a hectic 36 hours of exploiting everything. That's how it works. Okay, moving on, guys. Let me have a small drink. It's close to 40 degrees here today, so I need to drink. Perfect day to make videos and stay inside. The Internet of Things, IoT. Myself, I have smart lighting system in my house. The light itself is not very interesting, but it consists out of a bridge where my smartphone connects to. This bridge has software on it. The bridge is nothing more to connect to it, to do change color of the light, to turn them on, to put them on a certain schedule. So very basic. But these things are always on, 24/7. You're not gonna turn it off. It's like set and forget kind of systems. So this is very interesting, because they're always on, which means that the security also needs to be up to par. And I can write a program, write a certain script that this bridge can also send data across the internet and attack certain targets. The same thing we talked about earlier when it comes to laptops. You can do the same thing with Internet of Things devices. Maybe even your brand new water boiler has a certain chip in it, or your refrigerator has a chip in it, and they are connected to the internet over Wi-Fi. It still means that they can generate data, right? So they can be part of a DDoS attack if needed. These are embedded systems. It's really low-level code, basically, but even that can be cracked, adjusted, hacked, what have you. And people don't really care if their refrigerator or their water boiler is updated. You catch my drift? So this is also something that is going to be it is already a major problem, and it's going to even be more in the future when everything is connected. When your car is connected to the internet, when your phone is connected to the internet, your refrigerator, your toilet is connected to the internet, because he's going to measure how much shit leaks out of you in the morning and say, it's a couple of gram more. Have you been eating well or whatever? I'm just saying, like, all this stuff is collecting data, sending it to somewhere, and when it's sending data to legitimate purposes, it can also send data to illegal purposes. So like a DDoS attack. All right, moving on. Man-in-the-middle attack. You have a sender and a receiver. So data flows from the sender to the receiver, and you can be there in the middle, right? You can see what's being sent over the line and what's being sent back. You only need 2 IP addresses, a port number, and a certain protocol. And if you can hack that, you can be in the middle. You can sniff the data, you can see what kind of stuff is flowing through there, even though it's such a lot of noise on there. You have programs like WireGuard, for instance, Google it, to kind of see what's going on in that data connection. You can be the man in the middle. The sender and the receiver, they both don't know of your existence, but you can sit there right comfortably in the middle and sniff all their data, take a copy of their data, and have all the time in the world to decrypt what's being sent. And we're talking about messages, we're talking about audio, we talk about video. IP spoofing, I'm not a networking guy. Let's see. An attacker uses a forced IP address to convince the system that it is a trusted user and that the system provides attacker with access. Okay, makes sense. When we talk about firewalls, you have whitelisted IPs, which are the trusted IPs, and the blacklisted IPs, which are the non-trusted IPs. I could impersonate myself as a trusted IP, while in fact, I'm a non-trusted IP. So based on IP address, I have access because I impersonate myself as being a trusted IP address, if that makes any sense. Phishing. Phishing that happens on the phone. Oh yeah, voice phishing. So, okay, phishing that happens on the phone and creates a sense of panic, making the victim want to act quickly without thinking. Mom, I lost my phone. Can you send me 300 euros so I can buy a new phone? Because I'm now abroad on vacation and without my phone, I'm nothing. You know how it is. Always a certain urgency playing into the emotions of people. Phishing for voice. Phishing is what you see normally in an email address. Talked about it enough on the channel. So if you want to know more information about phishing, check out that video. Smishing, I think with text messages. Yeah, smishing using SMS text messages to target victims. And phishing, the least. Attacker sends messages that appear legitimate to get recipient to provide confidential information. I see this on a daily basis. Messages that are coming from the CEO or the CFO urging you to do certain things, but if you think straight, then you know that the CFO or CEO will never ask you that, because you can just walk to his office and ask him like, hey, what's going on? Is it true that you want me to do this and that? And I bet you that 99.9% of the time he will say, no, I didn't send that message. So there's that. And spear phishing, as the term would suggest, is a targeted attempt to steal information from a specific person. Based on their function, based on the privileges they have on within systems, to files, and also targeting him as a person. We don't know all the traces that we leave behind on the internet, and they're quite something. You can build up a profile about somebody real quick, actually, especially when they're very active on social media and leave all kind of traces, things they like. So, oh, you like cars. Oh, you like this. Oh, you like that. It's very easy to build up a certain profile, and based on that profile, I can target you a little bit better, calling it spear phishing. Phishing is just the shotgun approach. A lot of pellets flying out of the gun. I'm sure a few of those pellets will hit you, but spear phishing is like a sniper rifle, like one big bullet sure to be able to take you out, neutralize you over a long distance, and that's a way more efficient approach. But we got to be careful out there, so this is basically my video when it comes to cyber threats, all the things that exist now. It's not put in concrete, so to speak, so in 1 or 2 years there can be more threats. We're adapting technology so fast and so rapidly that before you know it, there are more threats out there. But this is the cyber threat status in 2022. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below this video, and I wish you guys all a great day. Thanks for watching.